Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This video just kind of want to go into something a little bit different. I want to go into the commonly asked question that is, if I were to buy a new truck, what is the best truck to buy? And I'm going to go into that, answering it with kind of my opinion, but also I'm going to try and do an unbiased analysis of it the best I can. So, and I'm also going to only pretty much talk about Ford, Chevy, Dodge, just your main domestic trucks for now. I'm not going to get into cars for right now just because this is such a broad range of vehicles. We're just going to hit the three main trucks for the moment and dive right into it. So, first of all, I'm going to say, just completely honest here, since I can remember, I've been a diehard GM guy. And so some of the stuff that I'm going to say is painful for me to say, and some of it you guys are just going to be like, oh, he just is a Chevy guy, so he's going to say that anyway. Yeah, that's probably true too, but I'm going to try and be as honest and open as possible. And I'm going to probably piss off quite a few people with some of the stuff I say because, they are like I used to be, and they are only going to buy one vehicle no matter what me or anyone else says anyway. So for those people, I'd say just go buy what you want to buy then and don't look at the internet for opinions. So let's get into this. Let's start with Chevy trucks. Back this up a little bit. First, before I dive into it, also, I would just want to say from my own standing, I personally wouldn't buy a new truck for two reasons. One, I can't fucking afford it, period. Average cost of a new vehicle, $75,000 to $80,000. Yeah, you can get them cheaper. You can get them $45,000, $50,000-ish, but they also go up to over $100,000 for fully loaded, diesel models. So I'm just gonna say 75, 80K is the average right now. And second reason, and this is gonna piss a lot of people off too, is because I think all new vehicles, for the most part, minus a couple, are just fucking garbage. I think they're junk. And I'm gonna explain that in a little bit too. So start with GM, Chevy, GMC. And I just wanna say, Chevy and GMC to me has done so well for so long, making me happy with their trucks. But lately, I cannot tell you how disgusted I am with the line. Up until just a couple years ago, it seemed like everything was good, but these new trucks, I just can't stand. I can't stand the styling, and one of my biggest complaints is the LT-based motor. I am just not happy with them. Between being direct injected, variable cam timing, displacement on demand, there's just too much stuff in there that goes wrong, and it can cost you your whole motor. And the LS1 motor, the LS-based motors, they had issues too, especially the later ones with displacement on demand. But the earlier ones were pretty much bulletproof. And you can make the other ones pretty bulletproof too, but I'm just talking about you buy it off the lot and you should expect it to last 200,000 miles if you take care of it and do your maintenance. And a lot of times it's not the case. Quite a few of the 5.3s are having the same problems, if not worse, than the LS model trucks, and people are losing motors at under 100,000 miles. The 6-speed transmissions are pretty much garbage. They have a lot of issues. I can't even tell you how many 6L80 transmissions I have replaced, even just the last year. So mechanically, powertrain wise, not happy with them at all. Styling sucks, and the interiors are just kind of basic. They haven't stepped it up like Ford and Dodge, and that pains me to say that, but they're just not that comfortable, and they just don't have a lot to offer me anyway. As far as when I get in one, I'm just like, really, this is it? It's not like, wow, this is awesome, it's comfortable and everything is where I think it should be. They just don't impress me at all. And again, it pains me to say that because I've loved Chevy and GMC specifically for so long. I mean, the first brand new truck I ever bought 20 some years ago was a GMC truck, and I still have it to this day because I love that truck so much. So let's get into the Fords now, and this is where the shit's gonna hit the fan. Let's start off with EcoBoost motors. They are absolute fucking garbage. And I don't care if you're gonna tell me, oh, they make so much power, they're so fast, they're fucking garbage. Turbos go out anywhere from 50,000 miles on. I don't know how many turbos I've done on EcoBoost or how many I've diagnosed being bad. The motors can suffer catastrophic failures. The transmissions and the damn things, I'm not even gonna start on the transmissions. There is a little bit of bright news, a little glimmer on that though, and I'll say that the Ford 5.0s are actually pretty good motors. If I was gonna get a half-ton Ford truck, I'd get a 5.0. I think if you want a fairly reliable truck in a Ford, that's probably your best bet, is the 5.0 motor is pretty solid, makes good power. It may not be as fast as the EcoBoost, but it's a good motor, and it's probably going to last you the 200,000 miles you expect it to. Exterior wise, you know, I think I kind of, and I'm going to say this once, guys. I'm not gonna brag about Ford and Dodge ever again. This is the only time I'm going to talk about it because it pains me to say this shit. But Ford kind of has it going on for the exterior styling on their new trucks. I actually kind of like them. It's probably the better looking Fords that I've seen or that I can think of in at least 20 years. So exterior styling's good. I kind of dig the aluminum body on the F-150s. Interior's another note that on the Fords it kind of impresses me. I think they're fairly comfortable, and it just kind of is laid out nice as far as the dash goes. I will say, as far as getting into Ford with Power Stroke though, I probably wouldn't buy one. If you're talking diesel specifically here, I would probably get a Cummins or a Duramax. I've just never been a Power Stroke fan. There's just too much shit stuffed in there, and they really haven't made great Power Strokes. I mean, compared to the other motors that are relatively problem-free when you consider Duramax and Cummins from my experience. So there's that. Let's get into the Dodge now. And Dodge, exterior-wise, you know, the latest gen, it looks pretty good. I just kind of get sick of how they just kind of reface it slightly from year to year, and they're using the same body, essentially, the same look that they've been doing for the last, 29 years now. But, I mean, exterior-wise, they don't look that bad. Interior-wise, they're pretty comfortable. I do like them. Spent some time in a new Dodge 2500 Cummins on some road trips. My only complaint is if you're the passenger in the front seat, where your left foot goes, it fucking sucks. It's like you're in a van. The way the firewall is, there's just no good spot for your left foot if you're a passenger in the front seat. If you're in the back seat in the mega cab or you're the driver, it's fine, but the front passenger side kind of sucks. Motor-wise, Dodge motors aren't bad. I hate to say that, but yeah, Dodge motors aren't that bad. The Hemis, fairly reliable. They don't have a whole lot of issues. I mean, water pumps, stuff like that, seem to have issues on, well, I should say the water pump O-ring seal more likely than the actual water pump, but they're pretty decent. The Cummins motors, the base motor is still good like the original Cummins, but they just have too many electronics on them that can cause all kinds of issues, like the totally integrated power module, for example, that seems to fail on almost every Dodge I work on, it seems like. But other than the electronics issues on Dodges, they're not a bad truck. So, There's some advantages on some of these vehicles, but let's go into the main disadvantages of them and why I say they're junk. And that's because it seems like they just kind of get cheaper and cheaper. I mean, Ford is using plastic oil pans and plastic transmission pans. Chevy, instead of even having a plastic fender well on their trucks now, they're like a fiber type fabric material. I mean, what the fuck is this? Dodge, we won't even get into Dodge, but the main thing that I have a problem with is just how many electronics they're putting on these vehicles. And you're talking trucks that cost a fortune. And so for that price, you should be getting a quality piece of equipment. And yeah, it might last for a couple of years, but what really scares me is all the stuff that goes wrong with them after a couple of years, after the warranty's up, and you have thousands of dollars in repairs for stuff that shouldn't cost more than 20 or 30 bucks. Here's a prime example of that. 2016 Chevy Tahoe. Pretty basic vehicle, but even the base models have LED taillights, LED taillight assembly. So you can't just pop a $3 bulb out and put one back in. When they burn out, which they do a lot, I've replaced half a dozen of them in the last 2 years, you have to buy a whole new taillight housing, and they are about $600. That's ridiculous. These parts that fail in these vehicles, because of all the electronics in them and because everyone wants this new cool stuff, it costs a fortune to fix it. And, if you're like me, can't afford that. I can't even afford the vehicle to begin with, and then here, a couple years later, stuff starts breaking, it's not under warranty, and I can't afford the parts or let alone labor to pay someone else to fix it because of the extreme expense of what everything costs to fix these vehicles because of all the electronics that go into them, if that makes sense. So, unfortunately, I kind of think vehicles have gone from, 100,000 miles and they're pretty much done, like back in the 60s, 70s-ish, to vehicles that could last 2, 3, sometimes 400,000 miles in the early 2000s. And now we're starting to go backwards to where vehicles are only going to last 100, 150,000 miles before you start having major issues with them. And those major issues are probably going to be very, very expensive. Not to mention the fact that most people aren't going to be able to work on them and diagnose them because of the amount of skill and knowledge it takes to diagnose some of these electrical problems. I hope you know a good shop to work on them, unless you want to take to the dealer and pay dealer dollars to have it fixed, because some of the stuff can be rather complicated to diagnose. You think, well, scan tools and computers, it would be easy. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not, and it can take hours and hours to find the problem to fix it. So, just wanted to kind of go over that and, tell you guys that. And I'm going to be honest on this. I'm going to add this at the end of the video. If I was to buy a new truck in today's market, honestly, I'm going to kick myself in the nuts for even saying this, but I think I would probably buy like a Toyota Tacoma pickup, or maybe a Toyota 4Runner. I know that's not a full-size truck, it's mid-size, but it seems like exterior-wise and interior-wise, the styling and the comfort isn't that bad, but mechanically, Toyotas just seem to have their shit together. They seem to last longer and have fewer problems than the big three. And, your guess is as good as mine on that one. Maybe they actually just spend a little bit better or more money in engineering than the others and make it just that much better, but that's kind of my opinion on it at this point, and I hate to say that, but I really don't think I would buy a GM vehicle if I had 80 grand. And it kind of breaks my heart to say that, but it's the truth right now. So, I mean, if you guys can afford a brand new truck, I guess more power to you. Hopefully you get one that's a good one that will actually last. From what I've seen, there's a lot of shit that goes wrong with them. Doesn't really matter which one you buy. So I would say, well, on that note, you know, if you want to try something different than what you normally do, I'd say by all means, because chances are Ford, Chevy, Dodge, I wouldn't say one is better than the other right now. I would say they're almost all equal as long as you don't get the EcoBoost. If you don't get the EcoBoost, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, diesel motors, you know, Power Stroke, Cummins, Duramax, probably would lean more towards the Cummins, Duramax. I would stay away from the Power Stroke. But yeah, there you have it, guys. I mean, I'm gonna catch a lot of flack probably in the comments on this one, but I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna put it out there for you guys. I'm just more putting this out as kind of a warning, you know, buyer beware type stuff. If you're gonna buy a new truck, you may get a great one. You know, you may get one that lasts 200,000 miles, lasts you for 20 years, however long you might have it. Maybe you're one of the type of guys that just trades one in every 3 years, in which case it's really not going to matter. You're probably going to have very few, if any, issues at all. But this is more based towards those guys that buy a truck and own one for 10 to 20 years. Hopefully you get a good one. Even doing all your maintenance on them, though, is not going to be a guarantee that it's going to be problem free. Although I will say, with how complicated new vehicles are, especially the engines, the number one thing you guys can do is just change your oil religiously. And I mean every 3,000 miles. None of this 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 mile bullshit. Change your oil every 3,000 miles. There's a lot of stuff in those motors that need lubrication, they need clean oil. If you do that, it gives you a fighting chance that maybe, just maybe, your truck may last. So good luck with it, guys. If you can afford a new truck, hope you enjoy it. I hope that it doesn't have any problems. And, you know, put some miles on it for me. So thanks again for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, please like, and as always, we'll see you guys next time.